Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing. Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. Please note that we will start exactly at 11 o'clock by dealing with inventory. I'm just getting all the formalities ready so that we can continue with the class today. Okay, it is now 10:58 on my watch, and I believe that as people join, we can continue with the class this morning. Welcome everyone to FAC 2601, registered in the second semester. Hopefully it will be a fruitful couple of weeks because this is really a short semester for you. We have already got a recorded online class available for you on the My Module site. If you scroll on the bottom of the page to the left-hand side, you will see some of the pre-recorded classes. We've done this in this way as there are not a lot of time to do these classes. But today we will be looking at IAS 2 and inventory. All right, so it's covered by the International Accounting Standards 2. Now, colleagues, for the semester, what you really need to know, we will address today. So, concerning IAS 2 inventories, you must know your definitions and apply them to different scenarios. Calculate the historical cost of inventories. Apply the different cost formulas to measure the cost of inventories, either FIFO, weighted average, or specific identification. Calculate the NRV, net realizable value. Present and disclose inventories in the annual financial statements in accordance with IAS 2. As you know, inventory is an important topic that you need to understand for this module. It is also an area that you will continue to encounter in the further you approach your studies. Now, you will definitely be assessed in Assessment 1, which is written on the 20th of August. I believe that is this Thursday, where we will ask you multiple choice questions addressing different areas of inventory. So it's important that you understand these concepts, and I'm going to throw myself out of a comfort zone today, and we will be looking at a question that was asked in the previous semester, semester 1, to take you directly to what you can expect more or less. Remember, I mean, we cannot address each and every question or different approaches to different questions, but I can show you what has been addressed in semester 1 with an adjustment to it and the solution. So we will work closely together. So I'm going to throw myself out of the normal way of doing things by looking exactly or going straight into a question, and then I will come back to the theory. So it is important for all international accounting standards, you need to know the theoretical aspects of any standard before you can practically apply them to different questions. But I will take you directly there in a moment or two. But this is exactly what is expected of you, all right? And you are also being made aware of inventory in management accounting, whereas we accountants disclosing inventory in the financial statements and valuating them, that is more or less our where we concentrate on. So colleagues, you need to understand all the below, and the historical cost of inventories, before we will be looking at an example, consist of the purchasing of items, the conversion costs, and any other costs relating to bringing the inventory to its current location and condition to make a sale. So these are important factors that we will be looking at when you are dealing with inventory. Sorry, just 1 second. Everyone can hear me and can see the slides. If I can just get a thumbs up to know that you can hear me. There is a slight delay in translating my voice to everyone. Okay, thank you. I noticed that a lot of thumbs up are there. So let's continue. So colleagues, this is an overview of International Accounting Standards 2. What does it include? Normally, inventories, as you would know, is held for sale in the ordinary course of business. It is in the process of production for such sales, consumables to be used in the production of goods and services for the sale. So colleagues, that is basically which inventories consist of. It is normally within your 12 months. You will either purchase items for resale purchases within the next 12 months, not longer. Of course, yes, if you are a manufacturing entity, you will have manufacturing raw material items that or work in process items that you have not used in that 12 months, but that does not form part of your final product yet. So therefore, we do a stock take at the end of the year to determine what the value of that inventory items are in the statement of financial position. So what does it exclude? Financial instruments, biological assets to point of harvest, mineral and mineral products, commodity brokers, producers of agriculture and forest. How do we measure these inventories? Remember, at the end of the period when you need to disclose your inventories, you need to measure it at the lower of cost and net realizable value. This is what we will return to a bit later on. But that is NRV is the format of what you can disclose inventories at the end of the period. Now, the cost include by using either the FIFO method, the weighted average method, the specific identification method, standard costs, retail method. These are the valuation techniques, okay, to value your inventory at the end of the reporting period. To come back to your NRV, remember, net realizable value is not the fair value that you can obtain in the market, but this is the value that is entity specific, meaning the entity itself determines the NRV value. Okay, but we will come back to the example of NRV when we are dealing with the practical examples of this. What is NRV? Just from a theoretical perspective, it's the estimated selling price in the ordinary course of business, less cost of completion and less cost to necessary to make the sale, based upon reliable evidence of the entity. Remember, this is entity specific. It can consist of write-downs by items or group where inventories are being kept in terms of a firm sales contract. In the case of materials, no write-down to NRV from cost take place if the materials form part of finished goods that are expected to realize their cost or more. So what does this basically tell us? Coming at the end of the reporting period, you need to compare your cost of your items. Say, for instance, you are a bicycle manufacturer and you have got bicycles left in stock. You need to determine whether that cost to make that bicycle, say, is 100 Rand, and then you need to determine as entity specific what is the NRV of your bicycle. Say, for instance, your NRV, you come to you that are the manufacturing entity determines the NRV. Remember, it's entity specific. And if that NRV is 95 Rand, it's less than cost, then you need to do a write down. Okay, then you write your inventory down to NRV. This means coming at the bottom here, it says that all these materials, there are no write down to your raw materials that forms part of the finished goods if they are expected to realize above their cost. Just something to keep in your mind. Now, colleagues, before we go to a example straight to see what was expected in the semester 1 examination, this is how we deal with inventories. Okay, it consists of the cost of the items. How do we determine the cost of inventory items? What does it include? Like I said, if we are a bicycle manufacturer, you need to obtain the purchase price of your frames, your wheels, the chains. Those forms part of your IAS2 costs. Okay, cost of purchasing. Then you determine, you transfer your cost, your raw materials. Say, for instance, you bought your frames or you imported frames from China for 20 Rand. Those costs will come into play. Any other directly attributable costs of acquisition, less rebates. So if you buy bulk from China, a couple of frames, and they give you 10% discount because you bought 2,000 frames, that you need to deduct. But then, colleagues, we're talking about another step, which is the WIP, the work in process account. This is the conversion cost. Let's just rephrase. So what am I trying to achieve here? We are working with a manufacturing entity before we go into an example now, where we are manufacturing bicycles. So you obtain the raw materials, okay, from wherever you need to obtain it from. You include the import duties and other taxes. You deduct trade discounts or bulk discounts. Then you take that raw material cost, you put them in the conversion cost as part of your WIP. Okay, so raw materials will be taken out of here and will be taken into your WIP, your conversion cost. But then, colleagues, conversion costs, what does that consist of? Now we are talking about the frames running on the conveyor belts. Okay, those frames running on the conveyor belts, those we are talking about variable production overheads. Okay, so there is electricity on the conveyor belts, the wages of the people putting all these frames together. Those are variable production overheads, and they can be allocated to production of a complete bicycle with ease on a Rand per unit. But then, colleagues, there are other fixed production overheads that cannot be directly allocated to production, and under normal circumstances, we always include them under normal capacity. Because, colleagues, to come back to fixed production overheads, you will see this at a later stage. When we are dealing with fixed production overheads, for example, depreciation of the factory building, okay, the rent of the building, we do not know as of yet how many units we can produce at the end of the period, but we can base this, we can allocate fixed production overheads on normal capacity. Normal capacities tells you that under normal circumstances, you can in a year make, say, 20,000 units or bicycles. Then all you do is you get your budgeted or incurred fixed production invoices, say for depreciation, or you will know for the rent of the factory. Let's say that you spent 100,000 rand on rent, okay, and you made 10,000 units. You know that you can make 10,000 bicycles. So then that allocation rate is 10 rand per unit. How did I get that? It's 100,000 divided by 10,000 rand. Okay. Sorry, 100,000 rand divided by 10,000 units. Because under normal circumstances, you can allocate then based on your normal capacity. That's why it's always done on normal capacity. You allocate that to your fixed production cost. Then, colleagues, from out of the WIP, now you can allocate, you take that WIP, that completed bicycles, those costs, you take it to other costs, and that is your finished goods. Okay, and that for the finished goods, you can bring in other costs to bring them to the present location and condition, and that will include expenses that is necessary to bring the allocated finished goods to its location condition to make a sale. But it will normally exclude selling and administrative expenses and sometimes storage and interest related expenses. And colleagues, then when you have got that cost, that is how you will cost your inventories. And then that cost is the valuation of your cost items at the end of the period. Now, colleagues, there is already videos on inventory valuation, okay, for you to look at under the normal lesson tool 4 in your My Module site. So if you go to your lesson tool 4, there are already videos on inventory valuation, of which I'm not going to look at today. You can do that in your own time. Okay, so inventory valuation, determining the FIFO weighted average, and how do we value these items. You can go and have a look at how did we determine the FIFO and weighted average calculation with that. So colleagues, this is a nutshell of what inventories is all about when dealing specifically with manufacturing items. Now I'm going to, like I said, quickly go to a example that was done at the end of semester 1, before we continue with the slides here. Now, colleagues, let me get the example. Okay, this is an example that was asked at exam semester 1. Okay, so this, whenever you get a question, let me just minimize it a bit. Okay, hopefully it's still visible. This is something that was asked in the previous semester, I believe for 25 marks. Okay, if you ever get a question in the examination or in your assessments, it's important to go directly to the required, because you need to think from the start what is required of you before you get into the question. Okay, can you see immediately we are dealing with manufacturing, exactly as I explained. So I'm going to take the theory now and apply it practically to the question. So what is the required? They ask of us, please calculate the following for steel benches of standoff for the year ended 31st of December. It's important to note your year end. Remember, it's always important to know what your financial year end is. And you become the entity. You also all of a sudden become standoff, so that you can see it from your perspective, from the entity's perspective. So what is required for us? We need to determine the number of units produced during the year, and then we need to determine the cost per unit produced during the year for 2 and 7 marks. Okay, and then we will come back to H. But for this purposes, colleagues, if you are in the examination, whenever you open up your paper, you always go to the required to see what is expected of you. Okay, you read all of the required to know that, okay, I need to start thinking about what the number of units produced. So you need to immediately think, okay, cost of sales. What does cost of sales consist of? It consists of opening stock plus purchases or manufactured less closing stock. Okay, that will give you units produced. So either we must have, they must give us the closing stock or the opening stock, and they must tell you how many units were sold so that you can determine what is the units produced. So we will be looking at units. Okay, remember, we are talking about the number of units produced of the steel benches. Okay, so that is what we will be after. Then, colleagues, the cost per unit produced during the year. So we need to go and see, okay, what is required for the cost, exactly as I have shown you in the theory now. We need to go and determine what is the purchasing cost. What is the cost of purchases? What is the conversion cost? Are there variable production manufacturing overheads? Of course there must be. What is the fixed production? Always based on normal capacity. Okay. Are there any excludes abnormal spillage? We need to take that off. We cannot take that into consideration. Then are there any other costs that will bring us to determine the cost per unit of bicycles? In this instance, steel benches. Okay, so let's go back to the question. Okay, so the question asks of us, determine the number of units produced. Now you need to go back to your question. Now they gave us the opening balances of inventories as at 1st of January 2025. Now you know your year end starts on the 1st of January 2025 and it ends at the end of December. Okay, so that is your full financial year. Okay, but they said the opening balances, you've had raw materials on hand of 34,500 kilograms, and it equates to 345,000 rand. Immediately, you can see that it is calculates to 10 rand per unit. 345,000 divided by 3,500 is the raw materials on hand. That's your opening stock value. Work in progress. There's nothing in work in progress currently. That's zero. All right. Finished steel benches on hand. So, colleagues, what does this represent? This represents your opening stock value because these balances are taken at the beginning of your period and they are correctly calculated. So you've got 7,500 units as opening stock value. Those are the completed units. Remember this 1.5 million. What does this include? This includes all your raw material items, all the conversion cost of items, okay, all the direct labor for the 7,500 units. Okay, so colleagues, that value per unit is 1.5 million divided by 7,500 gives you 200 rand per unit. That is your valuation for finished steel benches. That consists 200 rand per unit, consists of all stock items. Okay, all inventory items. But now, what did they ask of us? They ask of us the produced or manufactured items during the year. Okay, colleagues, so we need to go and check. Now we've got the opening stock value. We need to either get purchases or those items that were sold, and they must tell you the closing stock the closing stock value at the end of the period. So let's read. Okay, so the following information is applicable to inventory for the financial year. So this is what happened during the financial year. Okay, so under normal capacity, we know that you can make 22,500 units in a given year. That's based on normal capacity. Now, colleagues, what we know from fixed manufacturing overheads, okay, to determine the allocation rate, this is just now, this is not, we're not dealing now with the very first question of the question in itself. I'm just applying the theory. So under normal circumstances, our allocation rate, you can immediately take the fixed manufacturing overheads for the year is calculated at 1215. Under normal circumstances, what we can manufacture and what the allocation rate is, you take 1215, 123 divided by 22,500, because that's so 54 Rand is your allocation rate. But now we don't know yet how many units we produced. Okay, so at the moment they say that we can make 22,500 units in a single year under normal circumstances. And that is how we allocate fixed manufacturing overheads to production. Okay, so you take 1215 and you divide it based on your normal capacity. That's 22,500. So what was the variable manufacturing overheads? Well, that equal to 1.1 million and 5,000 Rand. The fixed manufacturing overheads was 1215, and the raw materials purchased once off for the period was 273,000 Rand. So that is the raw materials that you purchase for the given year. Now we still need to, we don't know yet what was the amount of steel benches that was sold, because we are after the products purchased or manufactured. Remember, how do we determine the units produced? You always go back to closing stock, or cost of sales equals your opening stock plus your purchases slash manufactured less your closing stock. So we already know the 7,500 is your opening stock. So we've got that value. Okay, we don't know yet what was the items manufactured or produced. Okay, that is what we are after. Now let's go and read further. Additional information. Standoff has experienced strong competition from fake imported benches being damned on South African market. The selling price of steel benches therefore decreased to 125 Rand per unit at the end of the 2025 Rand per unit per period. The government has however agreed to protect the local market of steel benches, and is expected that the steel benches will be sold in the future of 180 Rand per unit. Now, when you're reading this, you immediately start thinking about the net realizable value, because this is entity specific. It relates to your steel benches that you manufacture. Standoff has an agreement with its sales agents that they will pay a commission of 2% on all sales. Remember this in the back of your head, because this will come down to your NRV. Okay, we need to make some sort of calculation. Now, corrosion from heavy rainfall resulted in Standoff having to write off 1875 kilograms of the raw material purchased during the year as abnormal wastages. Colleagues, this has got nothing to do with our opening question for determining the manufacture of units, but this will come into play when we need to determine the cost per unit, okay, produced. Remember, when we said we need to take off abnormal spillage or wastages in your conversion costs. Okay, you cannot take that into consideration, and we will come back to this, but we are after the very first option, the number of units produced during the year. Okay, we know your how do we get the formula? Always cost of sales equals opening stock plus purchases slash manufactured less closing stock. Have we got the cost of sales figure? No, at the moment we don't. Have we got the opening stock? So cost of sales is X, okay, equals opening stock. Yes, we've got the opening stock is 7,500 plus purchases manufactured. Have we got that? No, that is what we need to determine. Less closing stock. Have we got closing stock? No, we don't know from the material yet, from the information yet. During the year ended 31st, Standoff has sold a total of 16,500 steel benches. There you go. There's your cost of sales item. 16,500 is your cost of sales item. That is how many steel benches you sold. Can you see it's far less than the 20,500 units you produced? So you've got 7,500 left in stock, okay, but you sold 16,500, but we still must get the closing stock value, okay, which we don't know yet. On 1st of December, replacement value of raw materials is 20 Rand per kilogram, okay, and standoff values, it's finished production and raw material inventories according to the first in, first out method. So they tell you that you determine your steel benches on a first in, first out method. But we still don't have the cost. We don't know how to value inventory at yet. And we need to determine the materials or benches that was produced, okay? On 31st December, they standoff has raw materials on hand of 17,250 and 6,000 finished steel benches. There's your closing stock value, 6,000. Now, colleagues, this is now very easy to determine the number of units because we've got the cost of sales figure, that's 16,500. Okay, we've got the opening stock value, which is 7,500. So cost of sales equals, so it's cost of sales, which is 16,500, equals your opening stock plus X, because X we haven't got the amount of produced or manufactured or purchased, okay, but we know that we have got X, minus your closing stock value will give you your product, your manufactured items. Colleagues, there it is, opening inventory lights. These, sorry, it's not, it shouldn't be lights. That's why I say it is adjusted, exam adjusted, but it's exactly the same scenario. Okay, so there are 7,500 is the opening stock. Now, if you do your formula correct and you bring over your closing stock and you add it to your cost of sales, you get the amount of units produced is 15,000 units. Okay, remember, cost of sales is 16,500 plus is equals 7,500 plus X. We haven't got X, that is X. Okay, less your closing stock, 6,000. So if you add these two and deduct 7,500, you will get 15,000 as the units produced. That is your first item on the question. Now we need to go and determine the cost per unit produced during the year. What is the costs of the units produced during the year? So colleagues, now we can just take the items that will be transferred to work in progress. So they gave us of raw materials. What is the raw materials that we can transfer to production? Well, what did they give us? They said 34,500 kilograms, and they gave us the amount of raw materials is 345,000 Rand. Okay, they also said we've purchased 21,000 kilograms of raw materials, 273,000. There is 273,000. They also indicated that there's abnormal spillage of 8,750. How do we value 1875, but the wastage that we need to write off? Okay, so from raw materials, we know raw materials is 273 divided by 21,000 kilograms, give you 13 Rand. Okay, that is the value that we can allocate to abnormal spillage. Okay, so we deduct 24,375, and then what is the closing inventory? They gave us 17,625 kilograms as the closing value. Remember, it's the same principle applies. Raw material, you've got your opening stock, okay, your opening stock plus purchases, less closing stock, less your closing stock will give you the amount that is transferred to work in progress, to your work in progress. So we have got 364,500 Rand of raw materials are transferred to your work in progress. Remember, we are determining the cost per unit of the steel benches. So we took raw materials. Okay, what does that consist of? Raw materials consisted of your opening stock plus the purchases, the amount that was purchases, that's in kilograms, but we multiply it by 13 Rand because we've already got the valuation of that. They gave us that, okay? 273 divided by 21,000 kilograms give you your 13 rand per unit. So they gave us that value. Less what is wastages. Remember, the theory tells us that we cannot take abnormal wastages into account. We need to deduct that. And then we can transfer 364,500 rand to work in progress. Okay, that is your raw material. Your raw material that is used in this scenario is 364 for 15,000 benches. Okay, so we've manufactured 15,000 benches, steel benches that we calculated in number one. Okay, so that is the amount of benches that we manufactured for the year. What are we trying to achieve now? The cost for these benches. Okay, remember raw materials is part of cost. Okay, that is now 364. We determined that by taking the opening stock plus your purchases, less wages, less closing stock. This closing stock value will form part of the stock value in your statement of financial position as part of inventory. Remember, inventory can consist of raw materials, work in progress, finished goods. Okay, but the units that we produced for 15,000 units, we need to determine what that cost is. Okay, so we transferred raw materials of 300. This is just an alternative approach of how to determine the 364, 500. Okay, now we can take it to the cost per unit determination, which is your work in progress. Okay, and there it is, 364. Then the labor cost, because we need to add labor cost, that is the amount of labor, the wages in the work in progress. They gave us in the information, direct labor consists of 810,000 rand for the 15,000 benches, the unit benches. Okay, so you've got your labor cost is 810,000 rand. Okay, they also gave us variable overheads as 1,005,000 rand. There is your variable overheads. Okay, then you consist your fixed production overheads. Okay, we indicated to you the allocation rate. Okay, it's 1215 divided by 22,500 times 15,000. That's the allocation rate. Okay, it's 810,000 for fixed overheads. Then your raw materials. Okay, all these costs, colleagues, is your conversion costs. Okay, to be able to calculate the total cost. Then, after we've gotten the total cost, you divide it by 15,000 to get the cost per unit. So to be able to make 15,000 benches, it costs you 199 rand 30 per steel bench. Okay? And that, colleagues, is exactly what I've explained to you in the theory. We've just applied the theory in a practical example. We will come back to the slides now, but this was the last semester examination question of how to deal with inventory and practically apply it. Now, irrespective of your answer in G2 above, remember, we said that cost per item is 199 rand 30. By taking the raw material cost, the variable production overheads, the fixed production overheads, the labor costs, we got all the costs. Then we divided it by the units produced, and you get 199 rand 30. So we said now, assume that if you did not get this cost, we say, assume that these costs is now 190 rand. Okay, irrespective of your answer, okay, that the cost per unit produced is 190 rand, then disclose the inventory in the note to the financial statements of standoff. Now we are addressing the disclosure purposes. How will you disclose inventory in the statement of financial position? And that is what you are after, colleagues, is disclosure of inventory. Inventory note, the name of the entity, notes for the year end. It consists of finished goods. Okay, we will come to that. as well as raw materials. Remember, they said there is no WIP. The question says the WIP is 0. Okay, currently, so there is no WIP, but your raw materials calculated in 2 above, which is 229. Remember, that's the finished goods items. That's the closing stock value. How did we get WIP? Sorry, the raw materials 229125, while your closing stock value they gave us as 17625 kilograms. That's your closing stock on hand when you did the physical stock count at year end. You got 17625, and that 17625 was multiplied by 13 rand as your stock value. Okay, and that is 229125. But colleagues, now we must go and determine the finished goods items, okay, of your steel benches. Okay, and they said the closing stock value, when you did your count of finished goods items, you found there to be 6,000 steel benches. Remember, that's the closing value of your steel benches. So if you, after you've manufactured them and you sold 16,500, you are left with 6,000. How do we value them? Well, they said that your cost is not now 190 rand. We give you the cost of 190 rand. So what do? You compare now cost with your net realizable value. So what is your cost? What is the finished goods on hand at year end? Well, they said 6,000 rand of steel benches multiplied by the cost, what they gave you. Okay, so they gave you 190 rand. Okay, so that cost is 190 rand. So you need to apply 6,000 times 190 is 1140. That is your total cost for your steel benches at year end. Okay, but colleagues, remember, we have got an item as per the standard that says net realizable value. You need to measure your cost or your inventory at the lower of cost and NRV. How do we determine the NRV? Well, they said that the selling price, the government had steel benches will be sold in future at 180 rand per unit. That is our current selling price. And we need to take a commission, we need to take that off 2%. So colleagues, to determine the net realizable value, you need to take into consideration, based on the reliable evidence, that you will expect to realize the steel benches in the future. And you need to take that off. So because we said we need to compare now the cost together with our entity specific net realizable value. What is our entity's net realizable value? Well, they gave us 180 rand. Then we need to apply 2% of the sales commission, because that is what we will pay our sales agent at 3.60 rand. And then we can say 176. So our NRV is not 180 rand, but it's 176 rand 40. And then you multiply that by 6,000. Okay, and when you get 6,000 times 176, the NRV gave you 1850. So you can clearly see that the cost is higher than the NRV value. So we need to write it down to NRV, and that written down is go to your profit and loss. So you would say debit your cost of sales, credit inventory, and that is 81,600. Okay, and then the value that you will disclose in your finished goods inventory items is 1058,400. Why do we do that? Because the fact of the matter is that the NRV is lower than your cost items. And colleagues, that is in a nutshell what we have said on the calculation of stock. So, like I said, this is applying the theory on a given question. Now, let me quickly go back just to check After this, because now we're going to continue on with the slides, just to check if there are any questions before we can continue with the event. Now, sir, I can't see if there are any other questions. I'm not sure whether I'm looking at the correct. Okay. Where are questions? Okay, colleagues, let me carry everyone. See, okay, yes, see, sir, screen is not clear, please. Very blurry. Blurry, it must be on your side, Gloria. That is not clear. Why are we multiplying by 1,500 on fixed overheads? I'm not sure because my answer is that we manufacture 18,000 units. No, let's go back. We don't multiply by 1,500 and fixed overheads. In the first question, why did we minus the opening inventory instead of the closing inventory when calculating that we manufacture? Remember, colleagues, cost of sales, okay, cost of sales equals opening stock, okay, plus purchases slash manufactured. So if you don't purchase, you manufacture, okay, less closing stock, okay. So that is the calculation. Cost of sales equals your opening stock plus purchases less than plus purchases or manufactured. So colleagues, we have the closing stock value. We've sold 16,500 items. We have got 7,500 in opening stock. We don't know what the purchases or manufactured item is, less your closing stock of, I think it's 6,000. Okay. So if you take this and to determining X, in determining X, you will need to take this is X. So you will say 16,500. If you bring 6,000 over, you will need to will need to plus it, and then you will remain there. 7,500 equals 7,500 plus X. Okay, how do we get X? So then if you say that, you will take X equals 16,500 plus 6,000 minus 7,500, because if you take 7,500 to the other side, it becomes a negative. Okay, that is normal mathematical equation. So that is why it is 15,000 units. If you take that, 16 plus 6 is 22, minus 7 give you 15,000. In the first question, why did we minus the opening inventory? Exactly as I explained here. And why are we multiplying by 1,500 on fixed overheads? I don't know where you get that. We don't multiply by 1,500. It's you divide it by 15,000 units. Remember, it's always based on normal capacity. That's why you need to know your theoretical instances. So you say 125 divided by 22,500 gives you your allocation rate based on normal capacity. Normal capacity is always 22. Normal capacity for this entity is 22,500 units. So to get the allocation rate for fixed overheads, you will say 1215 divide by normal capacity times the amount of benches you've manufactured. So it's not multiply by 1,500 units. We've manufactured 15,000 units, but you need to get the allocation rate first based on normal capacity. Okay, colleagues, I cannot stand still on this. This is the theory. Let's go back. Let's go back to the slides where we will indicate to you. So, colleagues, basically, I've already explained now the cost of conversion, the other cost in bringing it to its current location and conditions. Here, it's just the different inventory items that you can get in three ways. You either have merchandise items, meaning, for example, a clothing store like Edgar's. They will obtain inventory and they will keep it as a current asset ready for sale in the ordinary course of business, and then they've got either items on the valuation techniques, which is FIFO or specific identification, okay, or weighted average. Especially for consumable items. Those consumable items will always go to first in, first out. Okay. And there is already a video on first in, first out and weighted average that you can look under the valuation technique videos. But I will just a little bit later on, I will quickly look at a very simple example in regards to FIFO and weighted average. Colleagues, we've just looked now at manufactured items, current assets used in the process of production of sale in the ordinary course of businesses, and then services. You also get inventory items as services, current assets in the forms of material or supplies to consumed in the production of process or in the rendering of services, like we normally do with lecturing. That's called a service. That is how inventories can be split up in different categories. So where are we? Remember, initially recognition is when you purchase the items, then you get directly attributable cost, which is your purchase price, your conversion cost, which is WIP, variable production overheads, fixed production overheads. Okay, and then the subsequent recognition criteria consist of your FIFO, the specific identification, only where goods have manufactured for specific purposes and are normally not interchangeable. And then at the end of the period, colleagues, you need to compare your cost versus your NRV. We will come to this a little bit later, but NRV, net realizable value, is the cost to complete and sell for your entity. You compare this to your cost. If the NRV is lower than your cost, you will need to write down. If NRV is higher than cost, then there's no write down of inventory. Now, colleagues, this is just a schematic representation of what we've just discussed. And we said what is NRV is the estimated selling price, less estimated cost of completion, less estimated selling costs. Okay, that is how you determine the NRV. Okay, and your cost in bringing the inventory to their pleasant condition and location included in the cost of inventory. Cost of sales, direct cost attributable to the production of goods and services. What consists your work in process, your direct labor, your direct materials, your variable production overheads, number of units, and your fixed production overheads based on normal capacity. We will look at fixed production overheads in a second. But determining cost, you need to go through your examples 4.2 to 4.4 in your study material under IAS lesson tool 4. There are some examples that you can look at, but which I've already addressed now. Applying a cost allocation technique, like I said, there's already a video on that. Determining your NRV and then record inventory at the lower of cost and NRV at normal capacity. Now, colleagues, this is exactly what I've said and what we've explained now. I'm not looking at this slide again. We can look at the conversion costs, which I'm probably just going to stand still a little bit on the fixed manufacturing overhead costs. Okay, so conversion costs, once you've got your bicycles, your frames, your change, you need to convert, you need to bring it in a process where we can allocate costs based on your manufacturing entity. So your purchase cost consists of your raw materials plus conversion cost. What are those costs? It's direct cost, direct labor, indirect cost, manufacturing costs. Consist of manufacturing, variable manufacturing cost and fixed manufacturing cost, which we will stand still. So variable manufacturing cost, your electricity for the specific machine. Remember, those costs, if production stops, okay, your variable manufacturing cost will also stop. So if there's a load shedding or whatever, that electricity costs cannot be allocated because then they will stop and they will vary with production levels. This appears the same for the wages for the people working at the conveyor belts. Okay. Those costs will vary as production level stops, but fixed manufacturing costs like the factory rent or the depreciation, if you have got a load shedding or there's no electricity, you will still need to pay the rent. You will still need to write off depreciation for that unit, for the bigger machines of the entity. So those factory rent or depreciation for the machinery, that will still form part of your manufacturing costs, and they do not vary according with production level. And then there are any other costs, if there were any, to bring the asset to the or the inventory to the present location and condition necessary to make a sale. Okay, so here I explained to you variable costs. Remember, colleagues, these slides will be made available, and I think it's already on the site for you to look at on a later stage. All my slides are already on the My Module site. So what are variable costs? They varies with production. Variable costs will disappear when production stops. What do they consist of? Wages, electricity specifically for that machine, indirect materials used in production, and they are easy to allocate or trace to a product. Fixed costs, they remain the same no matter how many units you produce. That's why we will always allocate them based on normal capacity. Okay, total fixed cost remains unchanged when production level changes. Fixed cost will not disappear when production stops. Examples: rent, depreciation, insurance, and they are not easily allocated or traced to the product. This is just to delve a little bit more into what you get to production overhead costs, okay, incurred in the manufacturing process and other non-production overhead costs. We are looking at rent of admin building, salaries of admin, personnel, selling costs, and marketing advertising. They cannot be included in the cost of the product. These are fixed production costs, but then you get fixed non-production overhead costs, which cannot be allocated to products. And these form part of as other expenses in the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. Okay. These production costs, which are they? Factory building, depreciation on production machinery, indirect labor, and indirect materials included in the production of cost, and they form part of the cost of sales. Overhead costs can be classified as fixed or variable. Okay, so variable cost is allocated to products based on actual capacity, and fixed cost allocated to products based on normal capacity. Remember, because we do not know how many units we will produce, we will always get the allocation rate based on normal capacity. Okay. So this is just a classical example of how can we differentiate between the depreciation of factory equipment. Okay, they will form part of production. Okay, but they are fixed. That's their behavior. Okay, so if we say depreciation of the sales department, okay, they are, for example, a non-production cost, and which is also fixed, okay, but they will not form part of production. So if you've got depreciation on sales equipment like the printers in the sales office, it's still it's a non-production cost, but they will remain fixed. Wages paid for the cleaners in the factory, they are production costs, okay, but they are variable, because these cleaners or these wages, when they will be allocated to production, but they're not fixed. They can vary according to the wages paid for that factory. Consumables used in the factory is production cost and can also be variable. This is just a simple example of the different behaviors of costs. Okay, so like I mentioned, if there is sales, non-production, okay, they will not form part of production costs. Now, colleagues, let's look at actual capacity and normal capacity. Remember, the actual production levels achieved during a specific time period equals the actual number of units produced. That is, at the end of the period, you can only know how many units you have produced. That's the actual capacity. Normal capacity is the production level expected to be achieved on average, okay, over a number of periods or seasons under normal circumstances. So that is why when we come across fixed production overheads, we allocate those fixed production overheads during the year, okay, based on the best estimated or actual expense item. For example, you will know the rent that you will pay for your factory, okay, for your premises. You will know next year you're potentially going to spend 120,000 Rand. But to allocate the cost to the product, we always allocate that based on your normal capacity, because we can know, okay, under normal circumstances, we can make, say, 10,000 bicycles per year. So then we can take 120,000, that's the actual expenditure, the actual invoice amount that your creditor will issue you for your rent. Say it's 120,000 Rand, okay? You know that in a given period, you can make 10,000 units. So what's your allocation rate? Your allocation rate will be 12 Rand. Okay, how did we get that? We said the fixed production invoiced amount is 120,000 Rand, and we divide it by 10,000 based on normal capacity. That is how we can allocate fixed production overheads to the unit, the cost of the unit. Coming towards the end of the year, we know, okay, either we made that 10,000 units or we made more. Then there's an over or under allocation basis that we need to take into consideration, and I will show you this now. That's why we say it's a bit difficult to allocate fixed production overhead, because they are not directly related to your production. It's an indirect cost, which is related, but they are fixed, okay? They don't vary with production. So that is why how do we use normal capacity when allocating fixed production cost to products? At the beginning of a financial year, an entity is not going to know the actual amount of total fixed production overheads that will be incurred during the year. Okay, the actual number of units that will be produced during the year. In order to calculate the cost of the product, the entity must allocate a portion of the fixed production overheads to each product produced during the year, and then we can make a correction coming towards the end of the year. So you will produce, but you might not know. You don't know whether you're going to make 15,000 units or 20,000 units, but you know from your best experience, you can produce 15,000 or 10,000. Okay. And that is why we use normal capacity. In order to calculate the cost of the product, the entity must allocate a portion of the fixed production to each product produced during the year. For example, factory rental, but how much can I allocate to each finished unit? Okay, remember, I will only know the actual rental and actual finished units for the year at the end of the year. Okay, so here is the formula for the best possible estimate. Usually, budgeted overheads in rands divided by the estimated number to be produced based on normal capacity. Once the entity has the actual numbers for the year, at the end of the year, they will record the differences as an over or under allocation through cost of sales. Now, the best is to explain it by an example. Now, colleagues, let's look at an example. We estimate that the rental for last year will be 100,000 Rand and 10% increase for inflation in the current year. And we estimate 50,000 units, that is normally what is produced. So now that we know that 100,000 is what the rent will be, we add the inflation. That is what we know we can expect for rent. Okay. But we cannot, we need to allocate it during the year because we don't know how many units we can produce. Therefore, our allocation rate based on our best estimate is 110,000. That will be the rent B for the year, for the coming year, is 100 divided by 50,000 units, which give you 220 per unit. Now, as you will see, if we come to this, this is now the explanation of the over recovery. Okay, colleagues, exactly the same apply. If the estimated fixed production overheads is 200 Rand for the year, and the normal expected capacity is 20 units, okay, we know based on normal capacity, 200 divided by 20 units gives you 10 Rand per unit. That is what we will allocate during the year to the product. This is now, remember, we are dealing with fixed production overheads. We always calculated it based on normal capacity, and please take cognizance of that because these will form part of your multiple choice questions. Okay, so when we allocate now the estimated fixed cost per unit at the beginning of the year, the calc done at the end of the month of the year, the total fixed cost allocated. So what is our estimated fixed cost? Is 10 Rand per unit. Coming at the end of the year, now we know we have made 22 units. Okay, so 22 units times 10 is 220 Rand. So we allocated during the year based on our estimate. Remember the allocation rate. We went through the year allocating based on 20 units. Okay, so we say 22 units times 10 Rand is, so we allocated during the year 220 Rand. We were only charged 200 for the rent of the factory for the year. Can you see, colleagues, what happened here? We know that the rent for the year was 200,000 or 200 Rand. But based on the actual units, okay, we allocated to production more than what we should have. Okay, so we allocated 220. What was the incurred amount? 200. So there's a 200 over recovery and needs to be deducted from cost of sales. So colleagues, basically what we are saying, if your actual capacity is more than your normal capacity, okay, you will get an over recovery. If your actual capacity is more than your normal capacity, is greater than your normal capacity, you will have an over recovery, okay, and then you will make a deduction in your cost of sales. Okay, so the opposite is also true. Don't worry about, these are the general ledger accounts. I'm just explaining here. Your fixed production overhead costs is incurred is 200. That's the invoice. Okay. But we allocated 220 during the year because as we allocate products or as we manufacturing products, we take one, now we made a unit, we allocate 10 Rand per that unit. Coming towards the end of the year, we have allocated to products 220. This is now WIP. Remember, WIP, work in process, consists of your direct material, direct labor, and then your inventory. And the fixed production overheads is 220. So we take out of the WIP into your inventory, 220. Okay. WIP is 220. This is the 22 units we've manufactured. Your cost of sales is 220. We take it to cost of sales, but we've got an over recovery of 20 Rand. Okay, so this is what we say. If the normal capacity is not equal than actual capacity, then the fixed production overheads incurred is not the same as the fixed production overheads allocated, and then the following will occur. There will be an over recovery or an under recovery. An over recovery or fixed overheads, when allocated, is greater than incurred or actual capacity is greater than normal capacity, there's an over recovery. So if your actual units, you can just take this as a tip. Okay, if your actual capacity is greater than normal capacity, you will have an over recovery. And the under recovery is obviously then the opposite. If actual capacity is less than normal capacity, you will have an under recovery because then you've allocated to production not as much as what you've been invoiced. Then you need to add it back, the cost. Okay, these are just the flow of cost in the general ledger. I'm not standing still on that, colleagues. It's just to explain how you take your WIP, your direct material, direct labor, you take it to WIP, your production overheads, you take it to your work in progress, then you get your finished goods that's been allocated to cost of sales, and those are the journal entries. You do not need to take photos or write them down. These are already in your in your My Module site, these slides. Now let's look at an example of actual versus normal capacity to see exactly what is required of you. Colleagues, I know it's not, it's a little bit blurry. I know the slide is blurry, even on my side, so don't think it's on your side. But the normal capacity is 100 tables per year. Okay, 100,000 tables per year. The factory building rent is 20,000 Rand per month times 12 will give you your 240,000 Rand. Okay. And machinery depreciation equals 10,000 Rand per month. You multiply that by 12. And the normal capacity is 100,000. At the end of the year, you made 110,000 tables actually produced. Can you see your actual capacity is more than your normal capacity? If we set allocation, the actual capacity is greater. Actual capacity is 110,000. It's normal. Then you've got an over recovery. Okay. So how did we determine that over recovery? So what is the fixed costs? The fixed costs consist of your rent and depreciation. That comes to 360,000 divided by 100,000. That gives you 360. So we will allocate to production. How many units we make, we will allocate 360 to production, to work in progress. So 360 times 110,000 Rand is 396,000 that we've allocated. We've allocated 396,000 Rand. But colleagues, we've only have the actual expense of 360,000 Rand. Can you see what we've allocated to production is more than what was physically incurred? The incurred amount is less, then there's an over recovery and you need to deduct it from your cost of sales. Okay, so you take 36,000 Rand off. So 396 minus 360 is an over allocated 36,000 Rand. That is the over allocation. Okay, so you've allocated more expenses than what you should have. That's why you deduct it off cost of sales. Okay, allocated is 396, incurred is 360. There's an over recovery. Okay, this is a simple example that I'm going to take you through that explains exactly what we said. Okay, to calculate the cost of units, the cost of sales figure. Let's look at this. Normal capacity of an entity is 200,000. Okay, we've got raw materials at 160 Rand per unit. Direct labor is 100 Rand per unit. And variable production overheads are 40 Rand per unit. So you know exactly 160 plus 100 plus 40 Rand is immediately your 300 Rand per unit. Okay. Fixed production overheads incurred amounts to 3 million. That is what you incurred. Now we know we will have an allocation rate of 3 million divided by 200,000 Rand. Can you see we have normal capacity of 200,000 and actual capacity of 150. There is less. It's less. So we will have an under recovery. Your actual production is less. It's not greater. It's less. Therefore, you will have an under recovery. But let's go ahead and calculate the cost of sales figure. They also tell us that the closing balance of finished goods is 7,500 units. Assume there is no opening balances. So we will value 7,500 units at the end of the year according to our cost. So 3 million divided by your your 200,000 units. Okay, colleagues, that is your allocation rate of your fixed units. Which is 15 Rand. Okay. So let's go and look at the solution. What is the cost for raw materials? They've gave you 160 Rand. They gave you direct labor is 100 Rand. They gave you variable production overheads of 40 Rand. Then we need to determine the fixed production overhead based on normal capacity, which is 15 Rand. So we will allocate cost to products based on 315 Rand. Okay, that's 315 times 150,000 transferred to work in progress. Okay, And the closing balance figure is 350. Remember that 150,000 units were produced. That is the actual production. That is the actual production. That is what we transfer to work in progress, to finished goods. Okay, 150,000 units transferred from work in progress. Cost of inventory sold consists of all your costs is 315, okay, which is 47,250, okay, and that is for the cost. Remember, how did we get that cost? Is added your raw material, your direct labor, your variable production overheads, plus your fixed production overheads based on normal capacity. So we allocated fixed production overheads on a allocation rate, okay, based on normal capacity, because during the year we did not know how many units we will produce, and that's why we need to make a correction and adjustment at the end of the period. Okay, so this is the cost, 47,250,000 rand. But colleagues, the fixed production overhead incurred is 3 million. Okay, there is an allocated amount of 150,000 times 15 rand is only 2250. Can you see you've got an under allocation? We have allocated to production 2250. We should have allocated 3 million. So the difference between is an under allocation. That's why we need to add it to our cost of sales figure. Okay, we had too little allocated to production based on normal capacity. Okay, so the allocated is 150,000 times 15 rand. Okay, that is what was allocated. Okay, the incurred amount is 3 million, and we need to add 750,000. So therefore, cost of inventory sold is 44 million, okay, 887,500, and the fixed production under allocated is 750,000 rand. And colleagues, that is how we can determine then the closing balance of 7,500 at 315 rand of the cost. Okay, remember we are not now after the NRV, but can you see the incurred amount is 3 million. That's the fixed production overhead for the year. We have allocated cost to production based on normal capacity. Okay, 3 million divided by 200,000 is 15 rand. That is the incurred amount is 3 million. During the year, we've allocated 15 rand times 150,000 gives you 2250. But those costs are not adequate during the year. We had an incurred amount at the end of the year at 3 million. So we need to add 750,000, okay, to 4487, and that is your cost of inventories sale. That is the cost of the sales amount for inventory. The cost of inventories that was transferred to work in progress is 47,250 less the closing balance figure, and that's the cost of inventories that is in your profit or loss account. Okay. Now, as we said, you incurred that, okay? That is the conversion cost, 2250. Under the allocated to production is 3 million less 2250. So under allocation is we need to add the cost that was not completely allocated. That's why your cost of sales figure is that. How did we get the total cost? Is 160 plus the labor plus the variable production overhead plus the allocation rate. And that, colleagues, is the 47,250 at the end of the period, less your closing stock value. Remember now, this is the figure disclosed in your statement of financial position for your closing stock. Okay, your closing stock value under inventory. Okay. Now, as I indicated, when allocated is less than incurred or actual capacity is less than normal, you get an under allocation as explained. Okay. Let me continue. Now, that is your manufacturing units closed off I said I will quickly look at the FIFO and weighted average valuation techniques. As indicated, this is already under your lesson 2.4, where there is an extended video done on valuation techniques. But just quickly, what is first in, first out? Assumes that first items you bought are the first items you sell. Weighted average calculations a single average cost for all identical items in the stock. So say for instance, this is a scenario of phone cases, okay? And you bought 10 cases, and we need to determine this according to the FIFO method and or the weighted average method. Okay, so on the 1st of October, you bought 10 cases at 5 Rand each, gives you a total cost of 50 Rand. Okay, and on the 5th of October, you bought 10 cases at 7 Rand, at 70 Rand. So for 20 cases, the total cost is 120 Rand. But what if you need to determine this according to the FIFO method? Okay, now assume the company sells 12 cases under FIFO. The 8 phone cases left is now valued at higher price of 7 Rand. So the first 10 cases is at 5 Rand. Remember, you sell 12 phone cases. Okay, remember, you bought 10 cases, okay, there on that at 5 Rand. Now you sell 12 cases, okay? So the first 10 cases will be valued at 5 Rand and the other 2 will be valued at 7 Rand. Let's go and see. Okay, so the first you sold. Remember, this is now about the items left in your stock. So how do we value according to the FIFO? You need to go back to the original amount that you bought it for, the FIFO. There are 8 phone cases left now. Remember, you've got 20 phone cases in stock. Okay, you sell 12. Okay, you sell 12, you left with 8. How do we value the 8 phone cases? Okay, so the first 10 cases at 5 Rand is 50 Rand. Okay, and the next 2 cases are sold at 7 Rand. There are 8 phone cases left that you will value at the higher price of 7 Rand because it will fall in that category. Okay, is the amount that you bought. So the value at higher price of 7 Rand. I hope that makes sense. But you bought it at 5 Rand. Okay. The cost of sales of the items bought, the very first 10 is valued at 5 Rand. And the next 2 is valued at 7 Rand because it's first in, first out. Okay. And the 8 phone cases that is left is valued at 7 Rand. Okay, now the weighted average phone cases, assume the company sells 12 phone cases under average cost. Remember, we said the total cost is 120 Rand divided by 20 Rand gives you 6 Rand. So all of the items now will be valued at 6 Rand. So 12 cases sold at 6 Rand is 72 Rand. And the 8 phone cases left is now valued at the average price of 6 Rand because it's weighted average. That's the distinction between FIFO and LIFO. Now, colleagues, I'm not going to go through this Moto X because our time is running out. This Moto X is a typical example where you also calculate the according to the first in, first out method, but where you need to calculate the cost per item, and 2 of these items are actually withdrawn from inventory and taken to cost to your current assets. So it becomes PPE. Okay, so 2 items becomes PPE. So this is a straightforward question which you can follow. I've got it here, but I need to come to NRV, and the Moto X question and solution is on the site, is on your module site. If I take you to the My Module site quickly, and you scroll all the way down to your online class 2, I've already got the Moto X question and the solution here that you can, and there's the PowerPoint slides, but I'm not going to go through that now. We are running out of time a bit because I still need to get to the NRV section. Okay, let me quickly just get that. So that question, let me just go to the where we need to be at. So I explained to you the manufacturing of items, the fixed production overhead of items, the difference between normal capacity and actual capacity. Okay, how do we deal with that? As I've said, I'm not looking at the general ledger accounts. Colleagues, I forgot to mention, remember, for Financial Accounting 2601, byproducts and joint products is not the crux of our module. Okay, so that is something that you will come across in management accounting, and we are not looking at that. Although it is important for examination purposes or assessment purposes, I don't put too much emphasis on that. And I've dealt and show you how do we deal with inventory for financial accounting purposes. Okay. So now we've explained FIFO and LIFO. Sorry, not LIFO. LIFO is non-existent anymore. It's FIFO, the weighted average costs, which valuation techniques are already there as well. Okay. I'm not looking at this method. As I said, you need to determine the year-end stock value of inventory that will need to be disclosed in the statement of financial position of Moto X already on the site. Okay, I gave you the purchase price. You need to deduct the discounts. You need to add all the various items to come to the total cost, and then you will divide it by 40 is the total units that you import. Okay, and then colleagues, there are 2 units that are withdrawn to be used for its own assets, so it become PPE. And then you need to value your inventory according to that. And I gave you the calculations. So where are we? We indicated to you the initial recognition of inventory. Okay, all directly attributable costs, which is your purchase price and conversion costs. Okay, your subsequent recognition, which can be FIFO, specific identification or weighted average method, at the end of the reporting period, and then we will come to your NRV. This is what we are looking at now, is your net realizable value. As I've indicated to you, at the end of the reporting period for disclosure purposes, you need to compare your cost to your entity-specific net realizable value, okay, for your inventories. And when your NRV is lower than your cost, you need to write down the inventory items, okay, per category. Depending on whether your raw materials and the work in progress will form part of finished goods that will realize above its cost, then those raw material items and consumables or raw material items and work in progress will not be written down, because they are seen as the finished goods that will be incorporated into their finished goods and will be sold above their cost. Okay, but under certain circumstances, if we give you an option to say raw materials, okay, is X or 100 Rand, and the NRV is 8% less than that, then you need to make a write down. Okay, so what is net realizable value? At the end of the financial year, closing inventory should be valued at the lower of cost or net realizable value. Okay, and throughout the year, inventories are recorded at cost. Therefore, at year end, before any adjustments, the value of inventories in the accounting records will be at cost. If NRV is lower than cost, you make a write down into inventory to NRV. You recognize inventory write down as an expense greater than the cost, no adjustment to inventory. So if the NRV is greater than cost, then there is no write down. The net realizable value of inventory is calculated at the end of the reporting period, as we indicated, and to determine the value of closing inventories that should be disclosed on the face of the statement of financial position, we have to take the number of units in closing inventory and multiply it with the lower amount between cost and NRV. Okay, so it is estimated at the NRV stands for is the estimated selling price which could be realized in a normal course of business less the estimated cost to be incurred in order to complete the product at the end to make a sale. Okay, so it's the selling price which will realize in the normal course of business will always be a given in a question. Okay, the cost to complete the product and make the sale include cost to complete inventories. Trade and discounts allowed, advertising costs, selling commission, packaging costs, transportation costs, which forms part of those costs to complete the inventories. Remember, this is entity specific. Okay, entity specific, and it's not the fair value. It's not the fair value of that is of the market for that product. Okay, it's the most reliable evidence. Okay, which is the estimated selling price. Colleagues, let's look at why can there be an NRV write down. Okay, the NRV of inventory items may fall below its cost for many reasons due to damage to inventories. There might be a flood of your perishable items, or inventories is wholly or partly obsolete, is outdated. There's a decline in selling price, increase in the estimated cost to complete goods, or increase in selling costs. These items are usually indicators of the potential write-down to NRV. Be on the lookout for them in the question. Okay, when we state to you there's a decline in selling price, or the selling costs will increase, or part of the items are damaged, and you need to do a write down. That's why there can always be inventory. There can be a decrease in the value of the inventory items as per the specific entity. Okay, the golden rule is that inventories is measured at the lower of cost and NRV. This is your golden rule. So there is an adjustment if your cost price is 10 and your NRV is 8, then you must write it down to NRV. There's no adjustment if your NRV is higher than your cost price. Okay, if inventories have previously been written down to NRV and subsequent evaluations show that the circumstances that previously caused inventories to be written down below cost no longer exist or have changed, the previous write down to NRV should be reversed. Okay, so now if you established again per the entity specific, the NRV is now higher than cost, that reversal that you've made or that adjustment should be reversed. If there is a reversal of a previous write down to NRV, it should be recognized and shown as a gain through decreasing cost of sales. Okay, the reversal of NRV is limited to the amount of the original write down, as inventories may not be restated above their original cost. Okay, that makes sense. It's logic. Okay, record at lower of cost than NRV. Just an example before we close off and show you the disclosure. We are almost there, colleagues. We are almost at the end of inventory discussion. Okay, Toolkit Limited is an entity that manufactures clickers for educational purposes, and Toolkit Limited has been the only supplier for clickers in Gauteng for the past 5 years. During the 2019 financial year, Toolkit Limited manufactured the clickers at a cost price of 350 per unit and sold it at 400 Rand per unit. Towards the end of the 2019 financial year, a major competitor entered the Gauteng market. Since the competitor produces their clickers at a significantly lower cost than Toolkit, the competitor can sell their clickers at 345 Rand per unit. Okay, starting on 31st December 2019, Toolkit Limited will have to sell their clickers at the same price as the competitors and incur additional advertising cost of approximately 5 Rand per clicker. Okay, so now it's not 400 Rand now, but becomes 345 Rand per unit is their selling price, less 5 Rand. Okay. In order to retain a market share, Toolkit Limited has 500 clickers on hand at 31st December 2019. So their original cost price was 350, but now their NRV becomes 345. What is the value of inventories at year end? So colleagues, we need to determine this is done at year end. That's the trigger. Okay, it's always done at year end. It's not halfway through the year. So what do we know? The cost price is 350. We need to sell it at 335, but there's an additional 5 Rand to make the sale. Therefore, your NRV is 340 Rand. Can you see there's a 10 Rand difference? So the valuation is now 500 units times 340 is 170,000 Rand. The original amount was 500 times 350, which is the original cost. Therefore, there's a 5,000 Rand write down. So now it is minus 170,000. So we had it originally 175. Now it is 170. So you debit your cost of sales and credit your inventories as the write down of inventories. Okay, so that is dealing with NRV. Now, most important, obviously, is the disclosure purposes of inventory in your financial statement of position. Okay, you need to be able to disclose the accounting policy note. Present the carrying amount of inventory in the current asset section of the statement of financial position and disclose the notes to the statement of financial position and present it in the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, the inventory write-downs and reversal, and disclose the notes. These are the presentation and disclosure note requirements. Okay, the accounting policy note. An entity should adopt and disclose an accounting policy that will result in a fair presentation of inventory in the statement of financial position, and the accounting policy note must show the measurement of inventories, either the lower of cost and net realizable value, and the cost formula used, either FIFO, WAM, or a specific identification formula. Okay. But this, colleagues, you can always get from the information of the question. It's easy. Okay, so the statement of financial position, it is always shown the inventories, which is your lower of cost and net realizable value plus the comparatives. Okay, so note 3, what does note 3 consist of? Note 3 consists of raw materials, work in progress, finished goods, consumable supplies. These are always also done at NRV, depending on whether these raw materials and work in progress will be incorporated into finished goods and will sell above their finished goods. They will not be written down to NRV. Okay, this is just one of the rules of IAS 2. But otherwise, these are also disclosed at their NRV value, determining whether the cost is higher or lower than NRV. The introduction of new technology into the market has resulted in a write-down of inventory to the value of that amount of Rand. If that occurred, is a note that can be slotted down in your disclosure of inventories. Okay, cost of sales and other expenses, that is where we will allocate some of these costs related to inventory. Okay, this is the disclosure purposes for your statement of profit or loss. Okay, other expenses includes unnecessary storage costs, not part of production, for example, finished goods storage of large raw material storage cost after production. They will not form part of cost of sales, but other expenses. Okay, and it can also include abnormal waste, abnormal labor strikes, selling costs, and admin overheads. Okay, that is part of other costs, other expenses. Okay, the profit before tax note, specific items stated in respective standards. Okay, reversal of write down to net realizable value or write down to net realizable value. Provide a description of circumstances. So these are disclosure of inventories as per your statement of financial disclosure notes. Okay, as we show you in the notes. So colleagues, these are in your presentation slides as at the bottom of the slides. Now, colleagues, also very good questions. Additional examples, stock limited and stock limited. It's also already on the site, embedded on the site. Okay, so you can go and have a look at those extra examples. And then, colleagues, again, our contact details. Our MRL is Mr. Beloy. His contact details, Aisley at unisa.ac.za. But colleagues, if you have got any technical questions or queries relating to your module, specifically on all lesson tools, please send your queries to fact2601@unisa.ac.za. Okay, that is where you can reach us and where you will have a response within 24 hours. And that is my story. I will quickly go back to to the teams. And colleagues, I will close off here and looking at some questions that there might be available. Please remember to be on the lookout for other announcements. Let me just stop the recording because the session is now over. Okay, and then I will be looking at the questions if I might have. Okay, colleagues, having said that,